Welcome to The Record Show, your virtual spin around the vinyl industry. Brought to you by Radio Wasteland Records. Yes, Midland has a record store. Here's your host, Jim Gleason.
Well, greetings from the Wasteland and welcome to another edition of The Record Show. We're recovering a little bit this week as we had ourselves a great record store day last Saturday. Hopefully you had an enjoyable one as well. There's one group of people, though, that did not, and I'm talking about Taylor Swift fans. Yes, we're going to have to revisit this issue for a little bit and talk about that. We'll stop short of calling it a debacle, but it was certainly an interesting situation all the way around. So how do I know Taylor Swift fans are, pissed off? Because they're saying so in the subreddit Taylor Swift. In fact, the thread title is A Sad Record Store Day for Taylor Fans. The author of this discussion talks about how Record Store Day Ambassadors is an honorary title. However, they feel that Taylor's team truly disappointed. They saw disheartening posts from around the world that many countries did not get the Lake's RSD single. And then a lot of other stores in the U.S. saying, and we were one of them, it wouldn't be worth it to stand in line to try to get a hold of it, as we had very few. Now, one of this author's gripes is the fact that The Lakes is a 2-year-old song. They felt that it could have been some other one. But they also go on to, and we made this point here as well, the fact that RSD named her a global ambassador, that they should have had more copies of this single to go around, i.e. they should have really anticipated what this demand would have been. Now, someone else points out in this thread that the record stores really had their hands tied, and I will agree with that. They could not put aside the rules just for this release. It's against the stated Record Store Day rules. We can't pre-sell, we can't hold. It's just the way it is. And I think a lot of newer people coming into record stores didn't quite understand that's how RSD works. Maybe they don't have the whole culture of the record store down because they're so new to it. Another comment in the Reddit thread said that there was only 16 copies that they know of. Again, this is Reddit, so we take it for what it is. But they said that there was only 16 copies in all of Australia. This poster's local store got only 2 copies, and they advise that if you're camping out literally 24 hours beforehand, you shouldn't even bother. Other stores, and we were included in on this, and this is what I want to talk about today, had decided to raffle off the chance to purchase a Taylor Swift 7-inch. And this person was a little, they called it messed up in the fact that you're allowed to buy this, not just given it. Well, again, it's a Record Store Day product, but this is where we're going to with this. The supply of the Taylor Swift 7-inch was so slim that other stores, and we kind of followed our lead from at least 2 other big stores here in Michigan, Underground Sounds in Ann Arbor and Dearborn Music, 2 that I know of at least, decided to raffle off their chances to buy that Taylor Swift album. Now, I'd seen a Facebook post in one of the groups that we go to where someone had called that lame. Now, the decision on our part, at least, to raffle off the 7-inch from Taylor Swift was based on the fact that there were so many new people, as I mentioned, who don't know how Record Store Day works. Now, this is all anecdotal as far as other stores go, but I can tell you here at our little store in Midland, Michigan, in the week leading up to Record Store Day, we had dozens of calls asking about this specific release. And these were from people who were not familiar with Record Store Day or its workings or not regular customers. The day before Record Store Day, we had somebody even wander in on that Friday asking if they could buy it then. Again, not knowing the rules and how Record Store Day works. Well, that person came back on Saturday, but they were too far back in line to even have that make a difference. Again, we only had 8 copies here. But we had already committed to this idea of a raffle late on Friday evening. One of the things I do remember covering ahead of Record Store Day was that it was my thought the reason Taylor Swift was chosen as a global ambassador was to bring new people into record stores. Well, it worked, but I don't think it had the effect that they thought it was going to have. These folks that would come in, again, having no clue how Record Store Day works or the culture of an independent record store, would have stood in line only to have collectors or folks that were a little more serious about this snag those copies out from under them. The end result being Taylor Swift fans who were being brought into a store like ours for the very first time would leave angry and probably never come back. And to that note, I guess I'm not certain how many of them ever would come back. The person I mentioned that came in on Friday looking for the Record Store Day release from Taylor Swift, when we told them that it wasn't available until Saturday, they turned around and walked out, didn't look around at anything else. And then on Saturday, after they came in specifically to put their name in the raffle for the Taylor Swift release, they left without purchasing anything else. Now, this is just one instance, but I'm sure that there are others out there. Just as I'm sure that other people that were brought into the record store specifically for Taylor Swift probably will come back again at some point in time. But again, this has all been such a whirlwind surrounding too few copies produced by the labels to meet the demand. Now, I don't want to say that I'm an expert to know what's going into the decision-making process of such a limited run for such an in-demand release. My guess is, though, that somewhere along the line at the record label, a decision was made based on financial reasons that this was the amount of Taylor Swift records to be pressed for Record Store Day. They pressed 10,000, but they very could have easily pressed 20, 30, 40, 50,000. Maybe that would have met demand. But whatever the reason, 10,000 was that number that they chose upon. And as far as creating a buzz, if you will, well, that's going to be built in with the level of devotion that a lot of Taylor Swift fans have. That is going to be a given that those are going to be in demand. So perhaps the label should have seen that coming. I don't buy the argument there, well, they're just trying to make this more collectible, because when something like this, which is in such tremendous demand, goes into the aftermarket, the record label nor the artist see none of that money. The flippers who come in, or the collectors that decide they're holding onto it for a while, they're the ones who benefit. The list price of around $15, that's what we were selling it for here in our store, really doesn't go anywhere beyond that particular sale. Any kind of aftermarket is what it is, and we see that a lot with other collectible records. This one, though, has been a very strange anomaly. A week before Record Store Day hit, I found a post on Discogs where someone was selling this for $10,000. They didn't even have it in their possession yet, but this flipper was just putting that out there. Now, I'm sure this was a joke on their part, just to see if anybody would bite. But I'll tell you what, it's only a joke until somebody makes that buy and says, I'll take this because I think it's going to be a worthy investment down the line. I saw that that post was taken down. I don't know if they pulled it or if it's sold. But now that Record Store Day has come and gone, that Taylor Swift release is still fetching big bucks. It's not 10,000, but right now on Discogs, there's one for sale that's over 1,000. And typically it has been selling in the $200 to $300 range already. In fact, many of the copies for sale in the US are in that $300 to $400 to $500 range. So the idea that they wanted to make this release more collectible for the artist in some way is not something I'm buying, because again, the artist nor the label sees none of this money that goes through the flipper aftermarket. So again, from our standpoint, we made the decision here at the store to raffle off the chance to buy it. And yes, I can see how that would be lame, but a lot of folks in the front of the line who are here for other reasons, they're serious hardcore collectors. I don't think we get a lot of flippers coming through our store, but I know that's not the case everywhere. But the hardcore collectors, they could have come in and said, if I get one, I get one. If I don't, I don't. They're not the big Taylor Swift fans. And while I wanted to respect their wishes to collect vinyl as they see fit, I also did not want dozens and dozens of angry people who would never come back to our store because we didn't have enough copies of the one thing that they stood in line all night to get. Hence the idea of a raffle. So from the standpoint of us here at Radio Wasteland, a small, locally owned independent record store, we were really faced with a lose-lose situation with Taylor Swift's 7-inch RSD title. Do we take our 8 copies and let them go to the first 8 people in line who are typically our most loyal customers, but not necessarily Taylor Swift fans, thus pissing off all of the real Taylor Swift fans who came to the store specifically to get that release in the hopes that they'll come back again? Or do we raffle them off and alienate our loyal customers and collectors who are there for us week after week, first in line when we have events like this, just to placate the Taylor Swift fans? Don't know if we made the right choice, but we chose the raffle end, if anything else, to try to keep peace in the line from those that really enjoy celebrating Record Store Day with their friends in the type of event the overnights have become. So did we make the right decision to raffle off our very limited number of copies? It seemed like the right one at the time, and we stand by it. Now, if Record Store Day ever chooses another artist of this caliber as an ambassador or puts a release of this magnitude again, knowing ahead of time that they're going to severely limit it, I'm going to have to question whether or not the level of involvement that we're going to take, because I'd much rather have our loyal customers here from week to week and make them happy on Record Store Day than take a chance on somebody who may or may not come back because of one artist. So, believe it or not, we actually have news that's not Taylor Swift related today. And that is a check of this week's new releases, hopefully headed to an independent record store near you. We'd hope to have Ken Norton from Ingram Entertainment with us, but he's still picking up the pieces from Record Store Day in April while beginning to work on the June drops. So we'll hopefully have a chance to check in with Ken next week. But in the meantime, we can handle them ourselves. So here's a look at some of the goodies that we hope to see around here at the Wasteland and in stores near you this week. Starting off with a new release from The Weeknd. This is Dawn FM. It is a double LP set, 2022 release. Dawn FM is the 5th studio album by the Canadian singer-songwriter The Weeknd. I'm going to have to try to get this right, but the name of the artist is Toro y Moi, and this is an album called Mahal, and it's on black vinyl and also a limited edition silver vinyl. This is Moa's 7th studio album, and according to our description, it is the boldest and most fascinating journey yet from the musical mastermind Chaz Bear. New stuff also from Willie Nelson. This one is called A Beautiful Time, 2022 release. He is back, if you can believe this, with his 72nd solo studio album. It is a full-fledged album from Willie Nelson with new studio material produced with longtime collaborator Buddy Cannon. And it comes on Willie's 89th birthday to show just how prolific he is as a musician. We also have new stuff from Miranda Lambert this week. It's hot on the heels of her recent 2022 Academy of Country Music Award win for Entertainer of the Year. Lambert is set to release Palomino, her 9th studio album, this coming Friday. Also an interesting one from a group I'm not too familiar with, the infamous String Dusters. Looks like a cool one, though, called Toward the Fray. These are a Grammy award-winning bluegrass, folk, and Americana outfit, the infamous String Dusters. This is their first full-length album since 2019's Rise Sun, and was written in response to the reaction to the events of 2020. Speaking of new stuff from great places, here's a new one from Ann Wilson. It's called Fierce Bliss. Yes, Ann Wilson, the legendary Rock and Roll Hall of Famer from Heart. It features both original music as well as some covers, including a cool one, by the looks of it, of Robin Trower's Bridge of Sighs. Long anticipated on the reissue front is the mono version of Saucer Full of Secrets from Pink Floyd. It's a reissue of Floyd's 2nd album. This comes on the heels of, it was a couple of months ago, we got Piper at the Gates of Dawn. And from all accounts, that was a phenomenal sounding record. Did get a listen to it too, so I can attest to that. So hopefully Saucer Full of Secrets repeats that sound quality. So for you Floyd fans, this could be a must pick up as well. Another cool reissue from the Kinks. This is Face to Face. Originally released in 1966. This is being reissued by Sanctuary Records and looks to be coming on purple vinyl. And speaking of Robin Trower, as we were just a few seconds ago with Ann Wilson's release, a couple coming from the guitarist this week, including No More Worlds to Conquer, and Coming Closer to the Day. That one looks to be on colored vinyl. Nifty compilation coming from the Ozark Mountain Daredevils. This is Jackie Blue, Greatest Hits 96. Our description calls this a compilation of the best songs from the legendary Southern rock outfit, all of them newly remastered. We're also getting a reissue from the Suicidal Tendencies, How Will I Laugh Tomorrow When I Can't Even Smile. Looks like there's 2 different versions of this, a black vinyl version and a blue indie exclusive, coming from those punk rockers, the Suicidal Tendencies. Another compilation, Best Of from Helix, the best of 1983 through 2012 on red vinyl. And finally, we're getting an anniversary edition, the 20th anniversary edition of Come Away With Me, from Norah Jones. This album reached number 1 in 20 countries, selling nearly 30 million copies, and swept the 2003 Grammy Awards with 8 wins, including Album of the Year. So look for that coming this week as well. Come Away With Me, 20th anniversary from Norah Jones. One final note of an album that we had hoped to get in store this week, but it looks like it's being delayed. You might see this show up in some stores, but we'll do what we can here at ours to get this later. And this is a brand new one from Terrible Ted. Yep, Ted Nugent is releasing an album called Detroit Muscle. We hope to have some more info on that next week, and hopefully it'll make it out in time, but brand new stuff from the Motor City Madman himself. So that is a quick look at the highlights of this week's new releases. Headed to an independent record store near you. And that'll also wrap things up this week. We're still playing catch up at the store, so we hope to have another Psych Rock spot coming out this week on our channel as well. But in the meantime, you folks have a great week, and we'll talk to you next time on The Record Show.
Spin me right round, baby, right round, like a record, baby, round, 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 round. You spin me right round, baby, right round, like a record, baby, round, 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 round.
Thanks for watching The Record Show. If you haven't done so yet, please make sure to subscribe to the Radio Wasteland Records YouTube channel. And be sure to hit that notifications bell so you'll be alerted every time we upload new content.